Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. In case you missed it, yesterday afternoon I dropped a commentary episode about this Howard Stern rumor that is just ridiculous. I said in my piece there, you can listen to that. Later today, I'm going to drop another commentary episode about Marc Maron. That won't be a thing that I'm going to do every day. I just had two things on my mind back to back that I wanted to talk about. Speaking of Marc Maron, he had on his podcast his visit to the 92nd Street Y, where he was interviewed by Jim Gaffigan. Jim asked Marc Maron about the future of comedy. Now, I realize as I'm putting this together, I listen to podcasts at least 2x speed, and when I pulled the audio, I pulled it at 2x speed. So if you're listening to me at 2x speed, you're going to have to listen to Jim and Maron at 4x, but neither one of them speak very quickly. I think you'll be able to follow here. The question for Marc Maron is about the future of comedy. I have trimmed it for both pacing and language, and it's at double speed.
What do you think is going to happen in the next 5 years in stand-up?
Well, sadly, my belief about podcasts and stand-up, I think what's happening because of the fragmentation of media and the kind of contraction of mainstream media and gatekeepers, which some people are like, good, they're gone. I'm like, is it? So what happens ultimately with the social media platforms and the kind of malignant spread of podcasting is that people will adapt to anything. And if that becomes the primary, world of entertainment, the people will eventually just adapt to it. So what has quality and what is elevated and what is produced properly will just, seem unnecessary. So I think a lot of what's happening in stand-up in terms of, crowd work clips and just, gunning for the hits so you can, get a job where people know you from a 3-minute piece where you talk to a couple about their kid, and then you can fill a room and do more of that. I think it lowers the bar for everybody. So I think what will happen is that, well-produced, well-crafted, thoughtful people that have chops and a real, entertaining, grounded, high-quality stuff, well, it just will become more and more unimportant.
Yeah, but, there is also there is, people, I believe that people value their time even more than their money. And so like those clips, like those people that do the crowd work or make fun of someone's shirt and all that, and they don't have the stuff. They'll go once, but they won't go back and see that person again. I mean, I have a larger theory.
But then the next one who does that, they'll go see that. I really want to believe you, but boy, people are dumb.
Also at double speed, and I was thrilled to hear this. You've heard me, if you've listened for years, you've heard me slow burn about people named Jim Gaffigan. I'm not going to pull my punch about Jim Gaffigan. People that we were really good to in the early days of satellite radio, and then when they got a little more famous, they didn't know how to return calls or wouldn't come up anymore. Got a little too big. Here is Mark and Jim talking about, and I never hear this. You always hear about how Netflix helped comedy, and it has gotten erased from history. Satellite radio helped stand-up comedy. Please understand that. Both Sirius Satellite Radio and XM Radio, led by the late Sonny Fox, we helped stand-up comedy, okay? Please understand this. This has somehow gotten erased. It goes like straight from the comedy boom of the 80s and the cable TV shows, and then it skips straight to Netflix, and everybody skips that decade there. So I was very happy to hear Jim Gaffigan and Marc Maron talk about the paychecks they got from satellite radio. Let's listen.
I used to describe it as because it was after this 80s comedy boom collapsed. Yeah. It was essentially going into phonograph repairman as an occupation. It didn't make sense. And it wasn't like, I saw that it was going to, that cable was going to, simultaneously, it ended up being a joke on The Simpsons, how bad stand-up was, but it was an outlet. That was my first TV appearance, was on Caroline's. But I had no expectation that, satellite radio would send you a check every, couple months.
When those things first started coming, like when I got an email from Sound Exchange, I'm like, this is a racket. Who's Sound Exchange? Yeah. And I talked to another comic, I'm like, dude, you better sign up because they got money for you there. I'm like, really? And all of a sudden you get these residuals from satellite. I'm like, wow.
You're welcome, Jim. Call me back sometime. As I mentioned, I will have a bonus episode about Marc Maron later today. Marc Maron really likes that Taylor Swift song that he used in his recent special, to the point where he performed it live. Let's take a listen. Not bad at all, Marc Maron. Out on Netflix today, Jim Jeffries' Two-Limb Policy is the 6th special for Netflix. I'd mentioned late last week that they were going to screen Dave Chappelle live in real life at the 23rd annual Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. That did indeed happen. The Hollywood Reporter says the film chronicled Dave's cornfield comedy shows during the pandemic. It was originally titled Dave Chappelle This Time, This Place, and originally premiered at Radio City in 2021 during the Tribeca Festival. The Hollywood Reporter says fallout over trans jokes reportedly derailed distribution. In response, Chappelle did a special tour featuring the doc at a comedy show. The documentary remains unavailable to the general public. The Hollywood Reporter says audience laughs and cheers were frequent during the screening of the feature. The film featured candid glimpses of Chappelle's interactions with Jon Stewart, Bob Saget, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, Tiffany Haddish, and David Letterman. It also reveals Dave Chappelle's role as a mentor to Michelle Wolf, who lived with the Chappelle family during the pandemic. As the credits rolled, the Hollywood Reporter says Chappelle, dressed in a suit, no tie, sneakers, took us on stage and awkwardly discussed the documentary, noting that he didn't know about the scheduled open forum because I didn't read the brochure, I just showed up. From the stage, he shouted out to David Letterman, who was in the audience. He told Letterman, "I love you so much, bro." Dave was handed a microphone and shared that Dave Chappelle is the gold standard he cites when advising young comedians in and around his native Indiana, asking whether or not they should go to L.A. Letterman says, "If you're not going to be as good as Dave Chappelle, there's no need to leave." Quoting Chappelle here, "I've gone on to get snubbed by the Grammys and the Emmys because someone thought it was a good idea to tell trans jokes." Dave is doing Dave Chappelle's summer camp in Yellow Springs, Ohio again this summer. There are shows this weekend and then the weekend of August 21st through the 23rd, and that'll be a wrap for the summer. Amy Schumer revealed she is recovering from back surgery. She was on social media posing with a walker. Amy Schumer explained, "Since my surfing injury back in the day, my L5 has been killing me. Today I got a laminectomy. It's a short recovery, and when I'm feeling better, I will buy a bra." Earlier in the day, Amy had posted a selfie from the hospital with a caption about overhearing that pickleball really keeps this place in business. Hassan, Minhaj, and Ronnie Chieng are doing well. They've added a 5th show to their run at the Beacon Theater. December 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th are sold out. They've added a 10 p.m. show on December 2nd. I can't stay up that late. Are you crazy? Pete Davidson gave an update about the Staten Island ferry. He said, "When me and Colin got the call, they were like, we should at least bid on it. We had no idea no one else would." Now we have a couple things I don't even know if I could talk about yet, but we have a couple brand things coming out and some cool stuff. Seth Meyers said, "When I saw the size of the ferry, I laughed so hard. It was 10 times what I thought you guys had bought." Pete said, "It's a 5,000-seater. It's 4 floors. It's insane. We rebuilt 1 floor, and then, we're using that for now, and then once we accrue some more, we'll do some more." Seth made fun of that and said, "I love when you guys try to flip this. You're going to be like, and there's 4 more floors." And they're like, "Can we see it?" And you're like, "No, you can't see the other floors." Eddie Murphy worked with Pete Davidson on that movie that came out on Amazon last week and said, "I love Pete. He's an interesting mix, talented and funny. We had great chemistry. We have a lot in common. We both started as stand-up comics really young. We were both on SNL really young. We both lost our dads really young, and we both have a connection with women that comedians usually don't have." I see what you did there, Eddie. Bill Hader revealed the reason he skipped the SNL 50. He told Seth Meyers that Andy Samberg called him about a digital short where everyone at SNL has anxiety. Hader said he didn't want to be in it because I'm anxious. Bowen Yang wound up playing the part that Samberg had conceived for Bill Hader. Hader said of his time on SNL, it was really shaky and everything. I was really anxious. He said he would often get migraines. His vision would go out. On the Christmas show during his first season, he got a migraine right before going on stage. He explained, "My vision goes, we had to go out there, and I had to hold on to Jason Sudeikis and just try to figure out what my line was." Matt Rife, getting into cosmetics. He's making his debut for Elf Cosmetics. Rife appears in a commercial that's a parody of a legal firm commercial called the Law Officers of Elfino and Schmarns. Rife and his partner crack down on overpriced beauty products while spotlighting Elf's commitment to clean, cruelty-free, and high-performance products at jaw-dropping prices. On the list of cool things, where at one end we have, John Mulaney's book club, and then we had Jim Gaffigan bourbon on there. This is way further down the list than Jim Gaffigan bourbon, just in case you're keeping track. Mitchell and Webb getting back together. I am psyched for this. Now, if you don't know who Mitchell and Webb are, you do. There's a comedy clip, a sketch that makes the routines. It's 2 Nazis, and one of them asks the other, "Are we the baddies?" Those guys. That's Mitchell and Webb. If you're a little more hip to comedy, you are familiar with their various sketch comedy shows and their sitcom Peep Show. They're coming back for Channel 4 with Mitchell and Webb Are Not Helping, a brand new sketch series. It'll premiere in September, 6 episodes. featuring Mitchell and Webb leading a new generation of comedy talent in a chaotic blend of sharp satire, dry wit, and surreal silliness. Comedy rule of three there. In a statement, Mitchell and Webb said, when Channel 4 asked us to do another sketch show, we were startled, bemused, and available. It's a perilous time for the industry, and so it's our hope that relaunching the trickiest genre of comedy is a brilliant piece of counterintuitive commissioning. We're looking forward to working with our brilliant new cast despite their youth and talent, and would like to encourage viewers to watch the commercial breaks carefully and do their best to buy something. It doesn't have to be a car, but, a box of chocolates or an app or something. Channel 4's head of comedy, Charlie Perkins, said, and this is an actual quote, "Sketch is back, baby. We're so honored to be working with David, Robert, and their contemporaries alongside an exceptional collective of newer voices, blah, blah, blah. But nothing on the internet can be liked. Some people found the teaser unfunny. On Reddit, somebody posted, absolutely love these two, but I hope the show's better than this sketch. Another said, I hate to say it, but I didn't even smirk. More than anything, it just felt very dated. Hopefully it's a blip, but this worries me if this is the clip they've chosen to preview the series. Another, not gonna lie, that was a pretty unfunny sketch. I don't go traveling a lot, so maybe I don't get it, but if that's the sketch they're leading with, yikes. Mitchell and Webb are not helping. September, Channel 4.
Gossip Corner, whispers in the street. Gossip Corner, probably about Pete. Gossip Corner, where the rumors meet. With Johnny Mac, it's always a treat. Gossip Corner, whispers in the street. Gossip Corner, probably about Pete. Gossip Corner, where the rumors meet. With Johnny Mac, it's always a treat.
I've been walking around my house singing that song. It is very catchy. On Gossip Corner, Nate Bargatze has adopted a dog. He shared this with the crowds at his two-show stop in Philadelphia over the weekend. Nate introduced his new dog. The dog is named Philly. Nate brought the dog out and explained that the Pennsylvania SPCA had rescued Philly from, quote, bad conditions, and added on Facebook, Philly will always hold a special place in my heart and now in my home. Nice job, Nate. Shelter dogs are always the way to go. This one, Margaret Cho ripped Dean Cain. I don't know if you saw Dean Cain announced that he was joining ICE. I don't want to debate that. But she wrote, "You'll never be white. Why would you join ICE and encourage people to join ICE when your ancestors were interned in World War II?" And it was at that point, for the first time in my life, I even pondered Dean Cain's ancestry. Apparently, he was born Dean George Tanaka. He was born in 1966. His mother later married Christopher Cain, who adopted Dean Tanaka and his brother and changed their last name. I always just looked at the guy and went, you know what? He's a good Superman. And Jay Leno, who, as you know, is the worst person in the world because he commented on what late night should do or not, he showed up at a meeting of Toyota enthusiasts. Jay was driving a brand new Ford Mustang GTD. Jay was not invited. A bunch of Toyota Supra owners were getting together. Jay pulls up and goes, "It's Super Day. I'm out Supra'd." The fellow car enthusiasts were impressed by the GTD. Apparently, it has a supercharged V8 with 815 horsepower and 664 foot-pounds of torque. Did I get that right, car people? And people took photos with Jay, and I don't think anybody gave him a hard time about having an opinion about late-night comedy. The National Comedy Center waited till about 4:45 p.m. on a summer Friday to announce that the Joan Rivers Joke File exhibit would open on Saturday. It has indeed opened. The centerpiece of the exhibit is Joan Rivers' legendary joke file, a collection of nearly 70,000 original jokes created by Joan and organized into hundreds of categories, from Parents Hated Me and cooking to weddings and airlines. When I worked with Joan on her radio show, she worked with two writers, and they would scribble something down, and we just had regular old note paper, and they would scribble something down, pass it to Joan, and she would deliver it, make it funny. Sometimes I'm not even sure she knew what the reference meant because it was a young guy to keep her cool and hip. But you could pass her anything, and she would read it and nail the joke. The immersive design at the museum allows guests to hear and see Joan Rivers performing jokes pulled directly from the file. Viewers can view original jokes from the file up close and even browse through a curated set on their own. Among the files, 390 jokes about New York, 538 on guys I dated, 989 on politics, 1,434 on aging. Under weddings, Joan wrote, "I was left standing at the altar so long my bouquet took root." Under Edgar, she wrote, "My honeymoon was a disaster. The next day he screamed, 'Don't tell me you can't cook either.' And under cooking, if the Lord wanted me to cook, I'd have aluminum hands. These hands were meant to hold charge cards." Out today, Alfred Robles Crowdwork Special on the 800-Pound Gorillas YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, they wrote CST. You don't mean CST. You mean CDT. We're on daylight time. If you do mean CST, you're just confusing everybody. So if you're in Central Time, trust Johnny Mac, 7 o'clock. East Mountain and Pacific, do the math. Blonde Medicine and Ben Katzner announced the release of his debut comedy special and album. They are both called Supple Harlot. The video version is out now. The audio version will be out Friday, September 12th. Ben uses observational humor and skilled storytelling to discuss everything from his own adoption to reading romance novels in a desperate attempt to connect with and understand the world around him. Voice Mag has been catching up with comedians at the Fringe. Edie Hurst is there. Edie's show is Edie Hurst's Wonderful Discovery of Witches in the County of Himself, a tale of the Lancashire witch trials, the Venga Boys, and absolutely nothing else. That's complicated. Edie explains, at the start of each show, I try to flop out of a giant cauldron. Also, there's a bit where I really struggle with a large roll of paper, and they are always fun. But I think what I'm most looking forward to is showing the world how the Venga Boys secretly made a concept album where they learn to circumnavigate the globe. Okay, sounds like a show that's a little bit out there. Also at the Fringe, Luigi the Musical. This thing's got some buzz on it. Now Luigi's heading over to the Fringe. That show will be at the Tonic, August 19, 2021, 22, and 23. And that is your comedy news for today. If you check the clock, you see how long we are. That's why I've been splitting out the commentary episodes. So later today, I'll drop some words about Marc Maron, and I'll meet you back here tomorrow. Well, no, I'll meet you back here later. I want you to listen to the commentary episodes, so listen to that. And then we'll also get back together tomorrow morning for a normal episode. See ya.